As the Minnesota Vikings are still assembling their coaching staff, a look ahead towards free agency, where you'll see this happen a lot with head coaches, assistants, where they like their guys. And whenever they take over a new spot, sometimes those guys just magically come with. So it makes sense to look at a couple of free agents that have ties to the reported Vikings coaching staff. So let's dive on in. So, of course, Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, well, we'll take a look at the coaching staff first. Zoom in and enhance. Really good at production value right now. So, again, reportedly, Kevin O'Connell, head coach. Wes Phillips could reportedly be in there. Thomas Brown could be in the mix as well. Gerard Johnson has already signed. Curtis Modkins, running backs coach, coming over from the Broncos, as well as run game coordinator. Keenan McCardle, Stan Angelicio, coming over from the Panthers. Chris Cooper, going to be a great offensive line coach. Mike Munchak's understudy, great guard in his own right as well. Ed Donatel, longtime defensive assistant, getting his shot to be a full-time play-calling DC again. Chris Rumpf, who, by the way, was a stand-up outside linebacker at South Carolina, has coached at outside linebackers before, so the Vikings, moving to a 3-4. That's right, as well as Mike Pettin. Yeah. So take a look at some of these free agents at the top. We sorted them not by rank, but by team connection. I don't know, just makes sense to me. But Von Miller. Now, I understand Von Miller doesn't have any crossover with Kevin O'Connell or Wes Phillips or Thomas Brown, but don't care. Don't care. And I know. Von Miller's aging out, yes. Probably going to get an assload of money, yes. Probably going to re-sign with the Rams, yes. But also, could you imagine? That's all. Austin Corbett. So this one makes a lot of sense. He's a guard out of Nevada, was a second-round pick, 26 years young. Obviously played in the offense with KOC and Phillips and Brown. And I think that he would be a rock-solid dude to bring in at right guard, even though I believe in my guy Wyatt Davis. Corbett can also play a little bit center. He played tackle at Nevada back in the day. And I think that he would be a really solid pickup. Will probably cost $8-9 million a year. But the Vikings, Rob Brzezinski, can free that up. That's right. OBJ, which we'll talk about OBJ in a future video, where he's going to be relatively cheap in free agency. He actually may not even sign anywhere until a better picture of his knee comes into place. But he may start the year on the pup, coming off that ACL in the Super Bowl. But he was a good teammate with the Rams. He also had big time production. He's also only 29, and he thrived in the offense that was put together by KOC. So maybe. Also more practical, Joseph Noteboom was a tackle out of TCU that I liked in the draft a couple years ago. He's only 26. He was the swing backup tackle behind Havenstein as well as Andrew Whitworth. And I think that Noteboom, I don't think that he would be signed somewhere to be a starter, but as a swing backup tackle, like if the Vikings want to bring in Noteboom as the new Rashad Hill, I would certainly be down for that. So with the Colts, Gerard Johnson, assistant quarterbacks coach. I put Carson Wentz up there because the Colts are going to cut him because he has no trade value. They're just going to eat his contract. And, I mean, there's a lot of Vikings fans in North Dakota that would absolutely be pumped up and rising up. And, again, if and when the Colts do cut Carson Wentz, if the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins and then they put that draft capital into a quarterback of the future in the draft either this year or next year, could Carson Wentz be that bridge quarterback? I can't do it. I can't do it, man. Recently, he has been garbage. He has not been good. But it still brings us back to 2017 where he was playing at an MVP level before he tore his ACL against the Rams. It's just messed up, man. Anyway, Bears, tons of dudes there because there's a ton, Broncos, ton of dudes there because there's a ton of dudes coming from the Broncos. So on defense, you got Kyle Fuller, Bryce Callahan, and Michael Ford as cornerbacks. I think Bryce Callahan makes the most sense, even though he is the oldest one. He has played the best ball more recently, and also I think that he would be the cheapest. Put him in the slot for 1-2 years. I think he'll be good to go there. Kareem Jackson, who was really good back in the day with the Texans, but he's certainly aging out. A.J. Johnson was a solid utility linebacker, even though he's 30. And then you got Steve Weatherly and Shamar Stephen. I'm coming home. Although, Shamar Stephen, respect. I mean, he was good this year. Like he was a nice force in the middle there for the Broncos defense with Shelby Harris. It was surprising. Got after it, man. Melvin Gordon, stupid Badger. Worked with Curtis Modkins, the Vikings' new running backs coach. No. First off, he's 28. Second off, no. Thirdly, no. That's all. And then offensive line, Chris Cooper coming over. You got Cameron Fleming, the veteran utility tackle. He's only 29, so could you bring him in like the aforementioned Noteboom to replace Rashad Hill? Maybe, even though I also like what they have on the offensive line at tackle spot at least, as well as Brett Jones. You know, they shouldn't have let Brett Jones go. They've always done Brett Jones dirty. Could they bring him back as the swing backup center if they don't re-sign Mason Cole? Maybe. Yeah. Bears-wise, so Akeem Hicks, where I understand that Akeem Hicks hasn't been healthy the last 2 years, and he's 32, and that's all. That's all the complaints. Akeem Hicks is still a bad mofo, but maybe our perception of Akeem Hicks is jaded because Akeem Hicks always got to go up against the Vikings guards and also Garrett Bradbury, so that could be it. But hey, if you can get him for cheap, a year or two of production, just squeeze out the last of his talent, like the last bit of toothpaste in the tube, it's possible, man. James Daniels, who I just listed, a lot like Von Miller, didn't have a crossover with Rumph and Pettin in Chicago, but I mean, James Daniels was a guard that I loved coming out of Iowa in 2018. I would have been perfectly fine grabbing him in the second round, except he went mid-second round. Vikings ended up with Brian O'Neill. That seemed to work out. Yeah, but James Daniels can play both guard spots, can play center. He's great in outside zone. I think that he would be an absolute asset for the Vikings. I don't think that he's going to get the money that Austin Corbett is going to get, but he still will cost $7, maybe $8 million per year. Briz can clear that up, and you're taking a very solid offensive lineman away from a division rival. So I'm good to go there. Defensively, Tayshaun Gibson, Deion Bush, DeAndre Houston, Carson, Alex Ogletree. Yeah, there's really a ton to get excited there. Although DeAndre Houston, Carson, he's been okay. Also, a couple of these secondary guys did have a crossover with Ed Donatel, who was in Chicago up until 2018, and then he followed Vic Fangio to the Broncos and became Fangio's DC in 2019. And then lastly, got Ian Thomas, tight end from the Panthers, where I think that he would be a solid tight end 3 coming out of Indiana. He'll be dirt cheap in free agency as well. So Ian Thomas would make a lot of sense for the Vikings to pick up, given his connection with Angelicio. And then that's it. Yeah, just looking through the list. Again, this is not a complete list. We sort of cherry picked some of the key names that have had crossover with the Vikings coaching staff that's coming together. But overall, I mean, the Vikings, even though they're snug up against the cap, there's always ways to free up money. And with Rob Brzezinski, you can certainly find ways to do it. Restructuring contracts, doing something with Cousins, doing something with Danielle Hunter. So we'll see what happens. I think the Vikings will still be players in free agency. I think if you go into the draft and you have at least one of the question marks on the offensive line sutured up and you have some options at cornerback, I think that's a smart way to head into the draft. So you're not just desperately groping and reaching for players just because of positions of need as opposed to BPA, which is the way to go. But your thoughts are thoughts. Take a look at a couple of free agents with connections to the current Vikings coaching staff. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.